Rev up your engines. Okay, today we got an off-road Jeep Wrangler. It's set up for off-road. Of course, we're in Tennessee, so it doesn't get emissions testing anyways. But you can feel it's missing a little as we open hood. You can feel it jiggling. There's misfiring. Of course, misfiring can be tons of things. Can be ignition problem. Can be a fuel problem. Can be an intake manifold vacuum leak. Could be a blowing head gasket. Could be all kinds of things. So we're going to get the scan tool out. And while we're waiting to hook it up, you can see this thing has been heavily modified. Got a very expensive $3,500 winch. That is one serious winch. It's got a rock crawler lift on it. We're back here. You can hear the little misfire. Dunka, dunka, dunka. So we shall diagnose it. Here we go, auto scan. You can see it's a serious off-roader. They took the fenders off too to get all the clearance. And it had a little mishap with rocks in Moab, Utah. We'll read the codes. Multiple misfire, but mainly cylinder number 1 misfire. So go back to live data and we'll do misfire data. As you can see, misfire counter, it's got 4, 5, 7, cylinder number 1. Now the other cylinders are doing okay. Cylinder 3 has 3, 4 misfires. The main thing though is cylinder number 1 is 46, 49. It keeps counting them, goes back to 0 and starts over. So there's a little bit of problem in cylinder number 3, but the main one is cylinder number 1. This is cylinder number 1, easy to get to. So we're going to swap coils. As you can see, most of the misfires are occurring on cylinder number 1. As we rev it up, there they go, 97, 100 misfire. Cylinder number 3 only stays on 8, while the other one's 151. So we're going to worry about cylinder 1 first. So we'll climb up my little ladder here. We'll get a 10 millimeter and unbolt the front coil. That's in the way. We'll get the old dipstick out of the way. Take out the 10 millimeter bolts. Should put a long bolt in there. Boy, what do they think these coils are made out of? Look at that thing, as long as can be. It doesn't need to be that long, but we'll wiggle it out. And we got to unplug the connector on the top, which you never want to come off, so I'll use a giant squeeze pliers. These things never want to come out of the plastic. Squeeze it. There it goes. Snap off. We're going to put this in the back and the back in the front. Now we're in the back. We got the back one out. We got to unclip it too with the little pliers. A lot of wiggling. This one doesn't want to come out, of course. They're all particular. Finally, off it comes. The back one on number 1 on the back one. Then we'll see what happens. So all the back ones now hooked up to the front. Then we'll put the one that was number 1 in the back. Then we'll bolt them back down to make sure they're grounded. Get them snug, and we'll put the oil dipstick back in now. And before we forget, we'll turn the key back on, go to the scan tool, and we will erase the codes. You want to get rid of the old data, so then we'll start it back up. The codes are gone now, so we'll start it up. And we'll let it run 5 or 10 minutes. Now, as you can see, we swapped number 1 with number 5. And as we look, number 5 misfire is 0. So that tells us there's nothing wrong with the coil whatsoever. The coil's fine. Has nothing to do with the coil. Cylinder 1 misfire, now it's up to 84, 85. And if we rev it up, you can see it's a 100, 103, yet number 5 isn't misfiring at all. Okay, so you didn't waste any money on a coil that you didn't need to buy. It would have been a waste of money buying a coil. Now, just for giggles, we'll look at the spark plugs. It's rare that they will go out, but we'll look at the number 1 spark plug. As long as we have it running, let's look at the injector data. Here's the pulse widths of the injectors. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You can see they're pretty much all the same. 2168, 2160, 2021. They're all about the same. So it's not like the injector is the problem, because all the data on them all is about the same. So let's be logical and look at the spark plug on number 1 that's misfiring. While I'm at it, I noticed, check it out, this battery cable is just hanging there. Now, you got a loose battery cable, you can get all kinds of squirrely crap. So we'll whack it back on. Well, it won't whack on. So just for now, we're going to do an old trick. We're going to loosen it up, put it over the terminal, then we'll whack it on top of it, and it'll make a tight fit. You can see that's making a real tight connection. Now we can tighten it up and it'll stay in place. As you can see, I'm pulling it now, it's not coming off. Look at the spark plug. So let's do a little dance and hope this fixes it. And it goes. Now, as with all these late model vehicles, you don't put anti-seize or anything because it's already got that coating on the thread. You just put it in and get it in snug. You can use a torque wrench if you want. I've been doing this so long, I don't bother with torque wrenches on spark plugs. You just want to get it tight and turn it a little. There. Now it's set. What do we have? 0 misfires across the board. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So in this case, it was just the spark plug. Now, here's the thing. We did get kind of lucky for 2 reasons. It was only the spark plug, but spark plug on this side. If it was the spark plug on this side, you gotta pull the intake manifold to even get to it. Now, this is really an off-road vehicle. If you're going to make it run perfectly for an on-road vehicle, you would change the other 5 spark plugs too, because that was the original spark plug and the other ones are worn. But when you see you got to take the intake manifold off to change the 3 on the driver's side, you're probably going to say, oh, it runs good enough off-road, I don't care. I'm not going to take all that crap apart until I have to. Okay, here we go. No backup camera on this baby. And for some weird reason, this baby's in French. I don't know. It's telling me ouvre la porte and all kinds of stuff. It's in French. And you can see the traction control is off. All that stuff's probably been broken a long time ago, going off-road and flipping upside down. So here we go to our little drag strip. It's definitely off-road. Maybe we'll take it in the cornfield. It's drag strip time. Go. Hey. Sounds pretty good. You do get a lot of wind noise in one of these. You expect that. One of the better ones I've been in. It still handles good on road. These giant tires, though, it's really not made for long distance traveling. Of course, these things are tremendous gas hogs. I mean, everything's big there for going off-road. And this one, of course, as you can see, is set up for going off-road, since even the fenders have been taken off. So they do make pretty good off-road vehicles. There's no arguing this. And this one has had the heck beat out of it, rolled over in Moab, but it's still in excellent shape. The engine's strong, the tranny still shifts strong. Yeah, all the crazy anti-lock braking and all that stuff probably doesn't work anymore. Has all kinds of codes, but it's an off-roader. You're not supposed to be driving this thing 80, 90 miles an hour. You take it to Moab and go on the dirt. But sure, it's got a few dings from going on the dirt in Moab, but it made it through and it's still running pretty good. And it even has good philosophical advice for everybody. Do or do not. There is no try. And here's some bonus questions and answers. Well, you know, I keep harping on loss of quality by cars being built in Mexico. Well, not the only one. Here's one from Dave, who happens to be an engineer. And Dave says, hey, Scotty, I agree with you about the lack of quality in Mexico. I was an inspector in a major aerospace company, and upper management decided to move thousands of detail parts to Mexico. Let me tell you, it was an absolute nightmare. I had to scrap 90% of the parts that came from Mexico. So much for saving money by building in Mexico. I agree with them entirely. They're just doing it because it's cheaper. If you can pay somebody $8.75 for a 12-hour workday, you're going to save money on labor. It's common sense, right? Of course you are. But what kind of quality you're going to get? Obviously, not the greatest quality in the world. Now, I mean, I laughed. President of Ford said, we got to do things better. We're building them incorrectly. We're going to fix this, right? Yeah, they're going to fix it by moving manufacturing even further into Mexico where they make stuff like crap. It's just laughable what these people come up with. They want to make more money, so they want to spend less money building them in Mexico where the quality's worse. And then Ford wonders, scratching their heads, gee, I wonder why I got these quality problems. We have to keep recalling stuff. Because you're making them too cheap in Mexico. That's a lot of the problem. Years ago, GM had all kinds of problems with the rear ends, the differentials in their pickup trucks, because they were building them in Mexico and they were doing a sloppy job. The things would wear out in 50, 60, 70,000 miles, and they used to go 2, 3, 400,000 miles because they were just making them cheaply in Mexico. They weren't putting them together correctly. They were too loose. So since they were loose, they wore out faster, and then out it goes. And hilariously enough, most of them broke after the warranty was up, which is all the manufacturers care about. Well, the warranty's up. You got to buy a differential. Now it's going to be $1,900. Not a good idea building things in Mexico. Hey, here's an engineer telling me the same thing. So if you never want to miss another one of my new car repair videos, remember to ring that bell.